attempted murder cases and the possession of illegal firearms was recorded. Mtombeni says while murder dropped by 11%, attempted murder recorded an increase of 6.5%.
The top three causative factors for murders are arguments, misunderstanding, road rage, provocation, vigilantism, and robbery. We are therefore calling for tolerance amongst the communities.
Forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan has apologized to Parliament for storming out of the police ad hoc committee meeting last week. O'Sullivan is back on the witness stand today to conclude his evidence after abruptly storming out while still being questioned by evidence leaders. The inquiry was established to probe allegations of corruption within the criminal justice system. O'Sullivan has been accused by previous witnesses of interfering in the work of police watchdog IPID. Babalondenze reports.
Paul O'Sullivan continued his evidence in Parliament with more questions about his infiltration of IPID. O'Sullivan was also told to apologize for revealing confidential financial information of committee member David Skosana. Before the start of his testimony, O'Sullivan did issue an official apology for his walkout and also submitted an affidavit.
The purpose of this affidavit is to deal with my apology for and reasons for departure from the ad hoc committee on 2026-02-26. I unreservedly apologize to the Speaker of the National Assembly and all Member of Parliament, including but not limited to the Chairman and members of the ad hoc committee.
O'Sullivan's former assistant, Sarah Jane Trent, will also give evidence today where she will also face allegations of interference and impersonating an IPID official. Babalondense, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Bosa leader Mmusi Maimane wants Parliament to convene an urgent debate of national importance on the Middle East crisis. Maimane believes this is necessary to determine the gravity of the situation and the immediate implications for South Africa. On Saturday, the US and Israel launched attacks on Iran, prompting retaliation on US sites in the Gulf region that has now left thousands of travellers stranded. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
In a letter to Speaker Toka Didiza, Bosa leader Mmusi Maimane says the urgency of his request for a debate is grounded in three interrelated considerations. The first is the safety and repatriation of South African citizens who are stranded in a volatile environment. Maimane says it's government's responsibility and Parliament's oversight duty to ensure all measures are taken to secure the safety of citizens abroad. Secondly, Maimane says Parliament needs to debate the economic impact of the conflict and whether the country is prepared for the disruptions in global energy markets and international trade. Maimane says Parliament has a critical role in debating and guiding government action to mitigate economic risks. Lastly, he asked South Africa must be clear on its foreign policy and to articulate its position clearly regarding the violations of national sovereignty and the use of military force. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
A secret ballot vote is currently underway for a new council speaker in the Ekurhuleni municipality. The EFF's Nkululeko Dunga and the ATM's John Sinona are the only two candidates vying for the position. The speaker's position became vacant last week following the resignation of Dora Mlambo, who was appointed as the MMC for Economic Infrastructure as well as Development. Tabiso Koba reports.
The vote for a new council speaker will reveal the newly drawn political alliances in the Ekurhuleni council, which has been rocked by political instability lately. The candidacy of ATM's John Sinona is backed by the ANC and its coalition of small parties. Meanwhile, the EFF's Nkululeko Dunga will need support from either the DA or Action SA to win the race for council speaker. The next Ekurhuleni speaker has the urgent task of tabling the city's adjustment budgets, which is already overdue by National Treasury. Another headache for the new speaker is the municipality currently faces the risk of having its debt securities suspended by the Johannesburg Stock Exchange due to having missed the deadline of submitting its audited financial statements. The statements first need to be passed by council before they are submitted. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
And in Nepal, voting is underway for a new parliament 6 months after deadly anti-corruption protests toppled the government. Key figures contesting for power include the former prime minister, who is seeking a return to office, and a rapper-turned-mayor bidding for the youth vote. Nearly 19 million voters are choosing who replaces the interim government, which has been in place since the September 2025 uprising. During the unrest, at least 77 people were killed, and Parliament and scores of government buildings were torched. Thousands of soldiers and police have been deployed at polling centres. Well, gold is trading at $5,170.98 an ounce. The rand is at 16.40 to the dollar, 21.91 to the pound, 19.07 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $81.40 a barrel.
Boksburg heading towards Brakpan roadworks, slowing down traffic on the N17 eastbound between Roundabout and Heidelberg Road. Traffic lights not working in Houghton at Kasogari and Houghton Drive. And we still have faulty traffic lights in Rand Park Ridge at Beyersnodie and the N1.
It's a cloudy afternoon in Gauteng with scattered showers. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 24 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN, Gauteng accounted for 26.1% of the overall national crime statistics between October and December last year.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome to 7:02 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, on this Thursday, the 5th of March. We're going to be continuing and jumping straight into part 2 of our conversation we had yesterday around fatherlessness in South Africa. I will reiterate the statistics, but also play you a recap of yesterday's conversation because there were so many messages and voice notes we didn't get through, and I think this is an important conversation. So what we asked is, outside of apartheid and the impact that it had on many households, what are the current reasons that fatherlessness is still a major problem in South Africa? What has the impact been? And what is the solution? And many of you called. Now, the statistics speak to fatherlessness in terms of biological fathers not being in the home. We will share what the definition is that we're using for the purposes of the show. Belief matters. We're going to talk spiritual awakening for beginners. How can you learn to understand and trust your intuitive voice? We'll be joined by Tembeka Msani, known as Umkhulu Ntaba Yezulu, which is translated as Heaven's Mountain. And that is a spiritual life coach, dream interpreter, and intuitive healer. So I'm looking forward to that one. Then we wrap up with Wendy Nolan, our consumer rights feature, Nolan Knows. We're going to touch on the fuel levies that make up part of the petrol price, but also we open up for your consumer rights issues. So do get in touch with us, 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
All right, so just to reiterate the statistics that came out, father absence statistics, and it's broken down by race. We did play a clip of a gentleman asking around this, saying, I understand the apartheid issues, but why is it so different that black homes, colored homes, and white homes are so different? What is the challenge? So the data, including the State of South Africa's Fathers 2024-2025 report, highlights the racial disparities in father presence. So in black children, only 31.7 black children live with their biological fathers, meaning almost 70% do not. Colored children, about 51.3% live with their biological fathers, meaning the other half do not. White children, approximately 80.2% to around 86.1% live with their biological fathers, meaning the balance of around 20 to 24% do not. Those are the stats we have if you're wondering about other racial groups. This is what we have in front of us. Now, for the purposes of this conversation, we're going to speak about fatherlessness, not in the context of not having a biological father in your home. That biological father could be living elsewhere. Maybe the parents are divorced or it was never a relationship, but they are present. They are actually participating in raising you. What have the implications been? I want to play a bit of a highlights from yesterday, from some of the calls, just for us to recap on the tonality. I see a lot of your messages, and then we will bring into the conversation Redmond Lowe, General Manager of Character Company. And Character Company is a long-term mentorship program of boys growing up with absent fathers. Let's take a listen to what happened yesterday. Refilwe from White City. Hi, Refilwe.
I'm a 36-year-old guy who met my father, I think, when I was 29 or so. And then my experience is that I was raised by a granny. So you'll find that there are certain qualities that were instilled in me, discipline and things like that. But there's certain elements that I kind of missed, and then I realized now as I grew, I'm a father now, I can express love, I can show emotions. I can't even cry at times.
Sammy in Centurion. Hi, Sammy.
There's this tendency of commercializing relationships. I don't know where it comes from. Like, for example, right now, if I have a child out of wedlock, the maternal family will say we want damages. Some of them call it dinkaolo. In Sepedi or Rwanda, they call it snyere. Now you ask yourself, who's been damaged?
Hi.
So I was previously married, and in that relationship, I had found out that my ex-husband had fathered a child or two.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Completely, left them for the dogs. And for me, I struggle in the sense that it is purely a choice that he has made because he is raised in a two-parent household. I also came from a two-parent household who, very present and active father. And I struggle in the sense of why would you simply make this choice and not want to take responsibility? And more than anything, I feel really bad for the kids because there's a wonderful family that they simply don't know.
Debucho from Pretoria, go ahead.
I actually grew up without a father. I think when my father passed on, I was very young that in my entire life, I have never seen my father or spoke to my father. When I was growing up, it did affect me. When I actually got married to my wife, I can say that in the first year of that marriage, that was hell. But if I look now and check what was the reason of that situation that we find ourselves, and when I look at it, the problem was with me. The things that triggered me, the healing that had to take place within me, and the insecurities that I had because of how I grew up. And when I look at my children and my wife, I told myself, I think when I told myself that I was still in high school, one, I don't want to be like my father. But there's been situations where, because of whatever that was happening at that time, I wished to say, I wish you were here. I really need to talk about this, or I need someone that I can trust to actually talk about this. So obviously I had to go for therapy, learn how to treat my wife better. I have never seen anyone as a husband before, like father and mother. I was not raised in that environment, but I had to go and learn how to treat my wife, how to communicate to my wife, and how to be a healthier and a better father.
Oh, those are some of the conversations that happened yesterday. I'm going to read some of the messages of which there were many, where we're asking, what is the issue? What is the reason? Mpo on Facebook said it's part of the system, breaking up black families. Apartheid never ended, it just changed form. Nico says, I can only speak on the black experience. Industrialization before and during apartheid era systematically dismantled the familial bonds. Fatherless households became normalized. That collective approach to socializing young people remains a persistent reality today. So I'm summarizing what is quite a long paragraph, but he's also including that there's the socioeconomic dimension, high unemployment, widespread alcoholism, and various addictions that have further fractured the family unit. An unemployed young man is rarely seen as worthy of fatherhood, and this perception is reinforced by social services, legislation, and a cultural belief that a man only qualifies as a father if he can financially provide. Quintilla de Vries says, low standards, morals, and ethics. Culture needs to change. Tepo says, the system and narrative that the government has driven about women empowerment is one of the reasons for fatherlessness. And I find that interesting. Austin says, the main factors, culture and mentality of said cultures. I'm colored. As a colored person, the majority of your peers will come from single-parent homes or be raised by their grandparents. Alcohol, drug abuse, and the acceptance of hookup culture has played a big role. Some are satisfied being baby mamas and baby daddies instead of being mothers and fathers, husbands and wives. Tandeni says there are no absent dads. The problem is the woman he has kids with change after the baby's born, and they only talk about money, this money that then we look for another one, yet we still love and take care of our kids. And many more messages. Keep them coming. 011-883 702 in the WhatsApp line 072 702 and 702. I'd like to welcome in Redmond Lowe, General Manager of Character Company, and some of the work that they do is long-term mentorship program of boys, specifically growing up with absent fathers. Redmond, thank you so much for joining this conversation, especially at such short notice.
Good afternoon, Relebogile. How are you?
I am good. And I'm also a little bit troubled, Redmond.
Wow. Tell me about it. I think you've just brought me into a war zone and I'm running around without a bulletproof vest.
So maybe you can give your general thoughts from what you've heard the listeners say and what you experience around you. Because we did have a caller who said yesterday, the problem is culture, basically, where you're kept from your child. And I asked the caller to say, sir, have you gone to the courts? That process is happening. I've seen the parts about people not getting married, but we forget that marriage does not guarantee a father remaining. You can have a father in the home that is not fathering. But what are your thoughts?
Well, firstly, every one of the comments are true. And the main components are always around the realm of gender-based violence, corruption, suicide, racism, addiction. And then one that people don't often speak about is the generational curse. The fact that masculinity should be bestowed by one father to another young boy, which gets the privilege of becoming a man. And if there's no reciprocal handshake, then that same curse that affected your family continues to run rampant. So everything the callers said were based on realities that we see. I, too, myself am a fatherless boy that grew up now that raises two sons of my own, and it's a privilege, and I can utilize the excuse of I never had a father. My father wasn't good enough, so I don't need to do that. But that's an excuse on why we stay stuck in this reciprocal or in this continuous cycle or pattern of being a systemically fatherless nation. With regards to what some of the users said in your comment right now on the marriage and being kept away from their kids after a baby is born, and then the financial system of not being able to provide. We see that predominantly around African and colored men. If you cannot provide, you are less than a zero on a contract. I personally have men in our organization. We provide mentorship to boys without father figures. So we utilize men that become social fathers to boys of all colors, types, sizes, and shapes. And these men in my organization, like, we are literally sitting shoulder to shoulder with them while we're all fighting and holding back tears, because these guys are in the place where they're going through divorce because they've lost the job. And no more thing of, well, how do the family come together, and how do we, instead of saying, like, this guy is slecht because he's lost his job, but instead, why doesn't this uncle and this uncle put together something? There's some food parcels. Let's see if we can get an opportunity. Instead, it's that I told you about that guy. I told you this guy is not good enough. I told you that he was good for nothing. And now that cycle continues. And then the guy, all of a sudden, is having suicidal ideations, which come a reality because he's being kept away from his son that he's provided for 5 years, but because there's no more bread, now all of a sudden he's worthless. So,
can I ask a question, Redmond?
Yes.
Because I'm in two minds about this, and sorry to cut you, but something you're saying, because I'm also seeing a message from Jay, who's saying the issue is multifaceted, but boils down to the fact that we live in a society that makes it difficult for a black man to be involved in his children's lives. Whether it's poverty, urbanization, courts being biased against fathers, bitter baby mamas, incompatibility of gender equality and high employment, the environment makes it difficult for most black men to be involved. So let me ask this question, Redmond, and you engage with these individuals. At what point will men, black, any color, take ownership? Let's say let's say all the facts you are stating are accurate, that the system makes it harder. But I have heard of so many men who will make that complaint, but none of them even know where the family courts are. None of them have even done anything to demonstrate that these are the steps I've taken. They sort of put their hands up and say, well, the system works against men, but they can't even tell you where the nearest family court is in their area. Because if we are to say, we've had this conversation, maintenance and family court are not the same. The fact that you think you need to have money to see your child means you didn't do the job of trying to see your child, in my view. Please share with me if what I'm saying is harsh or ignorant. I said to the caller yesterday, if I were your daughter that you haven't seen and she's 9 because the mother's kept her from you, but you cannot demonstrate what you did do to try and see her, you are still at fault.
Yes, absolutely. So there's this fine line between being vulnerable and accepting accountability for the situation. So some people are in a place where they're in a impoverished community and the access to basic amenities, even just transport to get to family court or maintenance court might be an issue. But the thing is, far too many people give up. And that's the message that screams loudest to the kids. When the kids come of age, they realize I was systemically fatherless. But what did my father do to fight? And often you'll find out that the mother has kept and let's not paint the mothers badly. I want anyone that's listening not to hear that only. The guys are also bad. I know some guys that do bad things. They say that they are good guys, but after hours they're doing the wrong thing. But in this case, a mother's kept a father away from his son. Now what happens is this father continues to sell this kid a lie or a story saying, look, your mother is slack, your mother is this, she kept me. But when the kid comes of age, the kid can actually have the knowledge and understanding to see, what did you do to fight for me? What did you do to pursue me? And within our realm at the Character Company, we actually want to show guys that you have the ability to support and back yourself. But it helps when you have someone to fight with you that's in your corner. And the government and all the systems always look like they've stacked up against men for men to fail. And there's all these stupid parodies about men's conference that comes around once a year, right? And men are paraded as these clowns that are going to go attend men's conference. And we know what happens at men's conference. But the reality is we've become such a nation that is numb, and we laugh and we joke and we never fix. So we always get to the place where we reach the place of knowing what the healing is and the traumatic experience, but we don't pursue it. So for the question for what you're asking now with regards to the men is, with our environment, we want to show guys that there's a space, an avenue, a people, a group for you. Everyone, if you are into, making carpets or into repairing cars, or if you're into learning about instruments, everyone has their group. And guys think that there's no group for vulnerability and emotions. I can tell you right now that as we speak, there are thousands of guys listening that think I'm fighting, I'm looking for a way back to see my kid. And they think the be all and end all is with their partner.
And I have to just add there, Redmond, to what you're saying. Excuse me. The one thing we didn't touch on is, if we're talking about fatherlessness, what does it mean to be a father? Because I want to read you 2 messages and what you've touched on around the mothers, right? I fully acknowledge there are women that are weaponizing their children because the relationship has ended. I fully 100% acknowledge that. And I will stand by the fact that the courts should be separate, because you should not need to pay money to see your child. Also, it robs the child of having access to their father. That I stand by 100%. Now, the 2 messages. One says, you're joking, aren't you? I found myself sitting with 6 men, all fighting to see their children. only one there already had the child. Are you joking? Some discussions must just be left alone to those who've walked the journey. Now, my initial response to this message is, I also think men have the ability, the same as women, to lie to their friends. So somebody will say, I'm fighting so hard. I mean, there are even TikTok skits about it, where the skit will be the deadbeat baby daddy saying, I want to see my kid. Then the mom says, cool, let me know what time you want to come and pick up your child. And then the father, let's say, rocks up on the day they didn't agree. And then the mom's like, but we're not there. And then the report back is, I try to see my kid. She's not letting me see my kid. Because there's also the dynamics of control of why should you tell me when I should feel like seeing my kid?
Yeah. All mental manipulation things. When it comes to the emotional, the EQ side between mothers and fathers, the second-hand trauma that's experienced between a woman that finds herself physically, emotionally abused by a man and they've ended a relationship, even if it's amicable, could be trauma where the man has not even committed a sin or a crime. It could just be daddy issues. And the same goes for a father. Sometimes these guys become fathers and they've just been flung into this deep thing of not knowing what a father is. And here the guy is honestly out there living an honest living, making a mistake. And before he can even trial what a father is and how I become a good man, he's got to pay damages. He doesn't even know what that is. He doesn't even know how to approach that. And so there's all these dynamics. And I think if we take the racial lens off it, there's culture. We want to honor culture. Culture is beautiful. Cuisines, family, laughter, old pastimes. But the issue is we can never allow culture to be the dictator when there's a life at risk that could become a successful politician, because the nature of our politicians and our government and stuff is scary at times. But the ability of that change lies with us. And it lies with us raising good, wholesome, healthy kids.
Can I read you the next message? Says Relebogile,
yes.
A woman can bring up her son to be many things. How to treat a woman, how to be financially stable, how to treat others in society. But the one thing she can't do is teach him how to be a man. Now, the reason I want to know your thoughts, Redmond, is because there are many men that are raised by single women and matriarchs. Are we implying that they are not men because there was not a man to teach them how to be a man?
Yeah, so absolutely. A woman is not a man. She can never be a man. But moms, gogos, aunties, nieces, all these wonderful female counterparts that we have. The term matriarch is quite strong, but that's specifically animal kingdom. I would rather say provider in the lack or in the absence of a man. You guys, you ladies do wonderful things, and we honor that. At the Character Company, we lift up our mothers, we encourage them. But the reality is a woman can never teach a boy to be a man. Masculinity comes from masculinity. A man welcomes boy into masculinity through a handshake, a firm handshake, eye contact, teaching them the things men do in their old pastimes, in raising them, in taking them out to the bush, in climbing trees. And yet people can literally not say, well, a mother can teach a boy to climb a tree. A girl's first hero is her father. A boy's first hero is his dad. Like men play a pivotal role. And it's not to dismiss. I hate this thing between male and female and this clash for energy and roles. Women can be anything. So can men. But not when it comes to gender-conforming roles in raising a young boy, because the very imprint of our nation falling apart is that we are a fatherless nation. You can be fatherless in Sandton or Soweto. It doesn't matter. There are people that are living amazing lives in bigger states where there's a mother leading the role, but the fathers are still missing. Then there are boys in impoverished communities. The Character Company running Soshanguve, Vosloo, Tembisa, Atteridgeville, every impoverished community you could think of, and we've got systemic fatherless. We are in Sandton, Rosebank, Irene Estate, Waterfall. Even there are no fathers. So it's not just impoverishment and it's not just race. We literally have 450 boys on our program, black, white, Indian, colored, mixed race. And all of them share the same journey. There's no male role model that will teach a boy to be a man. And that's where the Character Company comes in.
So we need to go to the news, Redmond. I see you're called Jason. I see your voice notes. We're going to get to all of them, and your messages, and Redmond will stay with us. It's just after 1:30. Time for latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. Gauteng Police Commissioner Tommy Mtombeni says they have already started to see successes since the deployment of the army in the province. Mtombeni made the comments while delivering the third quarter crime statistics in the sitting of the Gauteng legislature today. During his State of the Nation address, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the stationing of soldiers in Gauteng to help police fight illegal mining as well as gangsterism. The Special Investigating Unit and the Department of Water and Sanitation have launched an initiative to fight corruption in the water sector. The establishment of the Anti-Corruption Forum follows 16 SIU proclamations which exposed governance weaknesses at the department. The move comes amid increasing allegations of corruption involving water tankers and water boards as government struggles to keep taps from running dry. And Joburg officials are on high alert with scattered showers expected to continue across Gauteng today. The South African Weather Service has warned that there is a 60% chance of rain with severe thunderstorms today. The service has also warned of a chance of localized flooding as well as some damaging winds. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage in Boksburg, we still have slow-moving traffic due to roadworks on the N17 eastbound between Roundup and Heidelberg Road. If you're traveling through Edenvale, that's leaving Bedford View, if you're leaving Edenvale heading towards Bedford View, there's slow-moving traffic on the N3 southbound. This is between Linksfield Road and the Kilulis interchange. Look out for those faulty traffic lights in Lone Hill at Lone Hill Boulevard and Main Road. Traffic lights also out of order in Houghton at Castle Gowrie and Houghton Drive. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
We are hanging out with a man who speaks on behalf of President Cyril Ramaphosa, Vincent Magwenya. The president is so calm. Like, does he ever get angry? Like, Vincent, that is wrong. Does he ever raise his voice? Because we've never had him like that.
It's very rare that you will see that side of him. But yeah, I know there are times when he gets annoyed and he will express his annoyance and unhappiness, as you will expect of someone who's leading such a very large, complex government institution.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
This is a message from Johannesburg Water. Water infrastructure vandalism has tragic and dangerous consequences. The theft of manhole covers can result in fatalities, especially among children. Each damaged pipe, illegal hookup, or vandalized pump jeopardizes access to clean water, disrupts service, and threatens public safety. Report suspicious activity to the City of Johannesburg at 0800 002 587. Help combat water infrastructure vandalism. Your alertness can prevent disasters. Johannesburg Water, a water utility that cares.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T&Cs online. Standard rates apply.
You hear that? That's the sound of business execution finally visible. No more chasing people and reports. No more disconnected systems. No more guessing if our business is performing or not. iStratGo connects strategy, people, performance, and day-to-day work into one clear software platform, so leaders can see what's working, what's not, and where to focus. Because when execution is visible, everything runs better. Book a demo on iStratGo.com. ISTRATGO.com.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja.
24 minutes to 2 o'clock. We're still talking about absent fathers and what the challenge is. We are joined by Redmond Lowe, General Manager of Character Company, which is a long-term mentorship program for boys growing up with absent fathers and no positive role models. In the context of our conversation, we're speaking about absent fathers for boys and girls, but we thought this is an important aspect to bring into the conversation. So many messages and voice notes are coming through. I'm going to do my absolute best to get to all of them. 011 883 702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. We now go to Jason from Pretoria. Hi, Jason. Go ahead.
Relebogile guy. Quick question, Relebogile, and to your guest there in the studio. Is it really necessary for us men to have to fight that fight? Is it an unwritten rule somewhere that we have to fight? And then also, fight comes with scars, mental, emotional, and physical scars. After going through that battle, after going through that war, just to see my son or my daughter, what kind of a father am I going to be post that? For me, I believe that's a bigger war, especially for us blacks. There's a much more bigger fight out there that we need to fight instead of squabbling amongst ourselves, saying, now you can't see your child because you can't pay support, you can't pay for private education, you can't do this, you can't do that. Honestly, and I've been meaning to ask this question ever since I started to listen to 702. Is it really necessary for us to fight to see our own children, money or no money, whether father to a daughter or father to a son? That's my question. I'm just putting it out there.
So let me say this, Jason. In an ideal world, the answer is no. But when there's another human being involved and you're not an island and you need to find common ground, in the same way as when you negotiate your contract with your clients, there have to be terms and conditions to what is going to dictate what this looks like. Whether it's a one-night stand, whether it is we're getting a divorce, right? Now, the default has always been that children go to their mothers. Why? Because that's usually the one that is the caregiver. If you've got a newborn, you can't take a newborn from the mother. But because as human beings, we differ. We have to have something that we reference. Now, in this conversation, we've touched on the fact that culture is a challenge where money and lack of money is being weaponized. We've referenced the fact that there are trash mothers out there who are not operating in the best interests of their children. Until, as one-on-one, which I don't see happening anytime soon, somebody will need to fight. Whether it is one fighting for maintenance, because we also have fathers that are single fathers where the mother walked out and they are seeing their kids cry for their moms that are begging for the people to come back. So yes, it is lopsided right now that it's fathers that are fighting to see their children. But if I'm to simplify, somebody is fighting for something where two people are no longer aligned, whether it is a salary increase, whether you understand what I'm saying. Now, the way the law is structured, it's a pity that maybe the information is not out there, but the resources are there. I think sometimes we get, what is it called? Like you get impatient or despondent because the process takes long. So now you're queuing there at family court. Now you're mad. It's petrol money. Like, I can understand those frustrations, but unfortunately, that is what the process is right now. And it's a pity. But that is what it is. We're not in an ideal world where everybody has the same morals and principles. We're not all raised the same.
Let me try and simplify it just for a quick second.
Yes.
Here's my point. If I'm a pedophile, a molester, or whatever, bad person, definitely I need to go through that battle to prove that I'm mentally sane to look after my child or to even spend 5 minutes with my child. But if two people couldn't make it work, and then here's another person or two little people, it shouldn't be even about us. It should be about the children and how best are we going to raise them. Rather argue about, I'd rather take them to a Catholic school because of my beliefs. I'd rather take them to that particular school.
So Jason, what I love about what you're saying is you and I are agreeing. The problem is there's situations which I know Redmond will speak to. What about the situation where the father was abusing the mother, but not the child. How simple, it's not a simple one-size-fits-all to approach to say, great, now we
100%.
can agree. So there are so many exceptions, but let me let you come in here, Redmond, on why do fathers have to fight to see their children?
Well, I love Jason's passion, firstly. That sounds like a good man and hopefully a good father, Not one of the fathers that say they're good, but after hours, the wrong things. But Jason, your comments, why? We've got broad shoulders and big backs. We are meant to fight. We are filled with testosterone. That testosterone usually spills over into something we call toxic masculinity. And we want to reframe that and say positive masculinity, healthy masculinity, and not the likes of Andrew Tate and all these other people shaping your kid's world. The kid's identity, and the reason you need to fight is if you aren't fighting for your kid's identity, the world will. And then before you know, your kid will become a product of the world. And then the issue of you thinking, well, maybe when my kid becomes of age, if I leave it right now and my kid becomes of age, maybe the child's 13, 14, 15, and then the child will say, look, Mom, listen, I want to spend time with my dad. There's nothing you can say or do. But by then it's too far gone because you've given up. I look into my kids' faces every single day and I realize they are worth fighting for. They are worth pursuing. And some guys don't get that opportunity. But even just for a moment, when you realize how special they are and the fact that you can change a life, we have the ability to break generational curses. If you come from a place where there were no fathers, forefathers, grandfathers, any positive male role model, not just a father, anyone can step up, whether it's an uncle, a nephew, a brother, and say, this child didn't get what he needs. And this generational curse in this family is going to stop because I'm going to put an end to it. You don't need to have the same biology to be a father to someone. I've got people that have raised me and given me more than my biological father has, and that's just been through a conversation. So I think for the guys out there, absolutely, you need to fight. The buck stops with you.
And I love what you said. Uncles, show up where you can. Not just for the boy child, the girl child too. Everybody needs those individuals. Show up for the parents. I really want to quickly go through messages and voice notes, Redmond, so we can come to the end of the conversation.
Hi, Relebogile. Thanks for a good show and thanks for the topic that you're discussing today. I just wanted to know, just to open the lines, I've seen fathers that have raised kids on their own, and even when they have next to nothing, but they do, even when the mothers are not present, but the mom decides, no, I'm not going to raise these kids. I just wonder with them, what did you have to overcome to actually get the strength to do that? Kudos to them, but I have seen some fathers that raise the kids by themselves where the mom is not available. Thanks again. This is Bakang from Centurion.
Hi, Relebogile, 702, sorry. The reason why men have given up on the courts, because there's this feeling that whatever that you do, us as men, the courts are against us. Go and look at most of the cases in the family courts. They are in favor of the ladies. How many of those cases have you got? It cannot be even more than 5%. That rule in favor of men. So what do we do as men? We give up. We don't even bother going there because we know what the outcome is going to be.
I want to read a message in response to that. Palisan Benoni says, I cannot accept that a parent can give up on their child or doesn't know where the family court is. In my experience, the court was always in favor of my ex-husband. I fought 3 long years to gain sole custody of my daughter. Ultimately, a parent that wants to be involved will be involved, finish and clar. Also, the court will dictate that the other parent, mom or dad, must work with the primary caregiver's timetable because they carry the load. That is from Palisa in Benoni. More voice notes.
Hi, Relebogile. Maparia from Redipot. My take also on this one is there's a key thing also is vengeful, revenge or vengeance, depending on how you look at it, is that when the relationship ends on both sides, we become vengeful or you cheated on me, you're not ever going to have access to the child. You can be a bad person in the relationship, honestly, just like me. I was a bad person in the marriage, but I'm a good father, good father, present father all the time. So being vengeful to one another using the child also contribute to that?
Hi, Khele. I grew up a rebellious child because of not having a father. A lot of anger and unanswered questions, which resulted to me being rebellious and me, I literally didn't care, So, yes, we do have children that are fatherless. I'm growing one as well, but I think fathers are just, some fathers just don't want to take responsibility.
So many of your messages and voice notes that are coming through. There is one I want to highlight, Redmond, before I let you respond, where Casey says, unemployed moms are parenting through the same situations of not having money, but they're there. Redmond, so much to respond to. You have about a minute and a bit.
Well, so I want to quickly touch on the gentleman that spoke about the courts and the fact that the legal system is stacked up against them. While I can say this is factual to an extent, because there are the odd cases where a guy has even had gender-based violence on him and he's gone to a police station and then they've laughed at him, or he's gone to the family court and they've been in favor of the mom. But it's always within reason. But the reality is that the courts are not stacked up for a woman. They're stacked up for the benefit of the child. So a lot of people just go on the second-hand thoughts of this is going to happen, so I don't even go. So they say, I don't go to the police. I don't go to the court. And I think that's an excuse whereby we just pass on the responsibility easily. And then for the story of the unemployed moms, yes, we have unemployed moms on our program. And I want to say it's a 50-50 split. So we have moms that we provide mentors through social fathers on our program, and they're unemployed, and they treat us like a homework facility or aftercare program. And then the moms actually use whatever they have through a grant to actually do the wrong thing. Moms that are alcoholics, moms that are doing things that they shouldn't be doing. But then there are actual good moms that are going out of their way to literally turn the little they have and turn over every penny and every cent to give this child the life they have. So I think we're not going to reach a conclusion here in terms of moms and dad. And I think the conversation should be moved away from mothers and fathers to more focus on the children and how we find a common ground, an amicable place for relation, and a place where they are the highlight of the story and not the lack of finances, the lack of opportunities, the ended relationship, the cheating, the divorce, all of these things,
And I'm just to add, Redmond, there was a gentleman who called in maybe a year or two ago that when his wife died, the family came and took the kids. He was struggling to access them. So we also recognize those outlier stories. There are men that are fighting tooth and nail to see their children, where the mothers have left the country. Maybe your name is not on the birth certificate, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I hope to encourage you all to keep fighting. Even if you need to take pauses for your mental health, when that child grows up, you will have something to show and to say. And I know this conversation is not over, so thank you so much, Redmond Lowe. Make sure you find the Character Company online, where they provide long-term mentorship programs for boys growing up with absent fathers and no positive role models. There's so many of your calls and messages we couldn't get to. So we'll make some time again to pick up this conversation. It is a very, very sensitive one. If any of you need support, 702 afternoons at 702.co.za.
Part of the 702 family.
Hello, my name is Yolanda from Beauty and Treats. I actually live in Melville. 702 means for me changing the narrative and also being very informative. Thank you for listening.
Welcome to our 702 family. Let's walk the talk.
Spinners on Care Price Drops gives you the chance to win a share of an epic 2.5 million rand in cash and tech gadgets. Enjoy a spinning spectacular and unwrap exciting wonders where fortunes fall from the sky and you could claim amazing prizes with every round. Simply bet 2 rand or more on selected pragmatic play slots Mondays, Tuesdays and Thursdays and enjoy sweet success. Hollywood Bets. It's more fun to spin with us.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Year in, year out, we're fixing tires faster than a Formula One pit crew. My team is on top of things like tire whisperers. If an unforeseen accident were to happen in my workshop, at least I've got My Way business insurance to keep the wheels turning.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
702.
Belief matters.
Exploring culture, traditions, religion,
and the beliefs that shape our world.
9 minutes to 2 o'clock in our Belief Matters feature, maybe especially coming from such a heavy conversation, it is appropriate for us to talk about spiritual awakening for beginners, how you can learn to understand and trust your intuitive voice. 011 883 702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 and 702. We're joined by Tembeka Msani, who's also known as Umkhulu Ntabe Zulu, which is translated to Heaven's Mountain, which I think is so beautiful. Spiritual life coach, dream interpreter, and intuitive healer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I feel like you're here in the perfect day, hey, from such a heavy conversation. And
Definitely.
It just got me wondering, what do we mean when we're referring to spiritual awakening? Because we know a lot of things can be connected to traumas, psychological experiences, and sometimes people think when you say spiritual awakening, you need to go twasa. Can you share with us in a very general, broad term what that means?
Thank you so much. I feel honored. Spiritual awakening, based on the experiences that I've had, is defined by being able to identify that you're actually a soul inside the body. And the reason why we got to that definition is because you have the logical mind and the subconscious mind, and you call it a midlife crisis only to realize that there's a voice in your head that's disagreeing with the choices that you are making, and every time you kind of listen to it, you always have some progress in your life. And it's not about initiation school, it's about the acknowledgement that you are able to connect to the godly frequency which aligns you to your purpose. So a lot of these things conflict because we have these past experiences based on our childhood backgrounds, based on the things that we went through, without a clear understanding that the God that we're speaking to is actually connected to us directly. And you don't have to go to initiation school unless you're in the archetype that actually requires the embodiment of additional ancestors such as myself that want to broaden their support to the world. You could still be a messenger of the family. You're receiving dreams that come through that actually prophesy the things that are going to happen. And then you just naturally have the spiritual awakening, that voice that's always telling you and guiding you, go left, go right, and then you're arguing with yourself, and then you're beating yourself up, and then when you listen to it, but we struggle to articulate it. Neuroscience has gone as far as identifying that we can reach the 9th dimension, which allows you to connect to your godly frequency. The only thing is, the moment you go beyond that, there are still some voices that come in that cannot be translated in that manner. That's when we dive deeper into spiritual awakening, where you're actually able to get answers without any understanding of where they're coming from, and they actually work out.
So the part about intuition is somebody's asking, good day, is it Mkhulu or Gogo? Because I hear a woman's voice. So it is Mkhulu because the guides are leaning to the masculine side. So you also have men healers that are referred to as Gogo. So just to explain that it's not linked to the person's gender. Now, there's the intuition, which is, let me turn left today instead of going right. And then you find out there was a car accident, right? And then there's the intuition that you get some document that is life-changing, but something is saying, don't sign. Now, is the awakening when you start listening?
Yes.
Because I think many people after the fact say, I had this feeling when we met, but yes. So share with us, that is the awakening when you start acknowledging the internal knowing and now start listening, which becomes a practice in itself.
100%, you're spot on. It's actually the intuition. You're 100% correct, because we are not taught to listen to our inner voice. You know the old saying, always follow your heart. But the context of following your heart has led most of us to, the wrong direction. Whereas the intuition is part of being able to know something without the evidence to validate it. Whereas the logical mind is being able to predict the future because of the past experiences that you've had. Now, I speak about emotional rehabilitation because you need to then be able to acknowledge that there's more to my life than what I've been taught. A perfect example would be, we're told, go to school, go to college, get a job, get married, have kids, build a house, and then regenerate. And then you get to the peak of your career, but something is saying, no,
something is missing. Can I ask a question? I love to look at children and see, and it's the biggest lesson I had before becoming a mom. When you give birth, they are a complete soul. Just because they don't know not to put their finger in the plug or they can't hold their heads up. Can you explain what that means? Because I see how present my son is, and he says things that are so intuitive, but then eventually we grow up and we get lost and we're trying to find ourselves again.
Thank you so much. So the reason why we're able to identify the purest form of intuition, especially in kids, is because when we are born, we come in a natural state, based on science, we have memory loss in terms of where our past lives were, and then we're able to incarnate back into earth and understanding, that there's a purpose. But until we get to the level where we're able to find that consistent remembrance, a child is pure. A child does not have any type of influence in terms of the environment. So that is where you actually see the peak of the natural form of the soul and the intuition. And then the moment, we go to school and then we learn about other dynamics in terms of life, that's why you tend to find, parents sometimes struggle with being misaligned with the kid, because the kid goes, but it should be easy to get this. But the parent goes, here are the reasons why. And in terms of a natural soul, we are limitless. There are no limitations to what we can achieve. But that's where some would say, that's where the programming comes in to say, actually, you're not supposed to think like this, you're supposed to think like that.
So it's no longer the matrix. You've been taught that the only way is what school says, or the only way is your trauma. You've always had an inner knowing. You just now need to connect the inner knowing with where your mind and reasoning is now and join them. So as we close off, can you share 2 one-yana tips about what the things are that people can start doing to get more in tune with their intuition and to trust, because it's without evidence?
100%. So just based on the fact that when you have dreams, those dreams are messages, point blank. I speak a lot about it in my channel. And at the end of the day, if you follow that, it's okay. The other thing is meditation. In as much as it's not that popular, but it actually helps because it allows you to stay grounded and actually be able to connect to your direct intuition, that godly frequency. And the other most powerful thing is actually prayer, because there you are able to then speak things into existence, communicate with your godly frequency, with God, whichever form of religion you believe in, that will help you reconnect with it back. And the most important thing is letting go of the past, because unfortunately the intuition cannot tell you what's about to happen. It only tells you if you listen, whereas the logical mind needs to prove why that will happen that way. The only problem with that is it can only give you a projection based on past experiences. So it's all about faith. We undermine faith a lot, but after 15 years of experience, being hospitalized 4 times, going to initiation school, I live by this. And you know what? I'm very grateful that I got to my spiritual awakening, because life was very tough before that. So thank you so much. I'm on TikTok, Heaven's Mountain. And you know what? If you need more information about me, feel free to, check me out. I share these daily tips, and, I'm helping a lot of people, and it really blesses my heart.
Thank you for coming, and for everybody, practice. The answers are generally within you. The problem is us practicing how to listen. And I'm sure we'll have you on the show again. But right now it's 1 minute after 2 o'clock. Eyewitness News is brought to you by Momentum. Financial advisors help you have a better shot at generational wealth. Speak to a Momentum accredited financial advisor. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Lamini. We begin with news just in. Former ANC MP Vincent Smith has been sentenced to 7 years in prison for corruption. The Johannesburg High Court sentenced Smith after reaching a plea agreement with the state. Smith pleaded guilty to charges that include fraud, money laundering and the contravention of the Tax Act. The conviction relates to the corruption and fraud charges in his personal capacity, as well as in his capacity as a sole director and shareholder of Euroblitz 48. Smith failed to declare his interests in the company to Parliament, as well as the gratification that he received from facilities company Bosasa. NPA IDAC spokesperson Henry Mamotame.
He was effectively sentenced to 12 years on each of the counts, with each suspended for 5 years on condition that he doesn't commit the same offense during the suspension period. Smith will thus serve 7 years direct imprisonment for his involvement in criminality.
It's the other breaking news this hour. The National Consumer Commission has announced a recall of over 25,000 VW Polo Vivo vehicles. The affected cars were made available for sale from February last year to February this year across the country. The Commission says VW has informed it that the rivet height on the handbrake lever fitted may be outside of the required specification in those cars. Owners of the affected vehicles have been advised to take precautionary measures and to also take their vehicles in for inspection. The Special Investigating Unit and the Department of Water and Sanitation have launched an initiative to fight corruption in the water sector. The establishment of the Anti-Corruption Forum follows 16 SIU proclamations which exposed governance weaknesses at the department. The move comes amid increasing allegations of corruption involving water tankers and water boards as government struggles to keep taps from running dry. Dimakatso Leshoro has more.
Anchored on Pillar 6 of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, the forum will adopt a risk-based approach focused on investigation, prevention and enforcement. It aims to deliver tangible outcomes including prosecutions, civil recoveries and administrative action. Communities who've been without water and receiving water from tankers have consistently made allegations of corruption involving these water tankers. Metros like the city of Joburg are spending hundreds of millions to mitigate in areas with dry taps. The SIU says the forum will support anti-corruption initiatives in the water sector and coordinate law enforcement efforts to enhance investigations. Dimakatso Leshoro, Eyewitness News.
Gauteng Police Commissioner Tomim Mtombeni says they are already starting to see successes since the deployment of the army in the province. Mtombeni made the comments while delivering the third quarter crime statistics in a sitting of the Gauteng legislature today during his State of the Nation address. President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the stationing of soldiers in Gauteng to help police fight illegal mining and gangsterism. Khomotso Modise has more.
One of the first places where soldiers have been deployed in Gauteng is at the Sporong informal settlement in Randfontein, an area which has been infiltrated by illegal miners, causing the displacement of 600 people. Provincial Police Commissioner Tomim Mtombeni says their work can already be seen.
We also deployed them on Shaft 9 in Krugersdorp, where we have arrested quite few individuals for illegal. We have recovered Pendukas in there.
But Mtombeni insists the officers will not be doing police work, but they'll be supporting the officers. Meanwhile, chairperson of the Community Safety Committee, Bandila Masugu, mentioned the importance of allaying the public's fears on the deployment of the army following the death of Collins Khoza in 2020, an Alexandra man who died from injuries sustained after being assaulted by a soldier. Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
And in Germany, a Syrian national has been jailed for 13 years for a knife attack on a Spanish tourist at a Holocaust memorial in Berlin last year. The 20-year-old allegedly planned the attacks for several weeks. He was convicted of attempted murder, grievous bodily harm, and attempted membership of a terrorist organization. The Berlin Holocaust Memorial was opened in 2005 to commemorate the 6 million Jews of Europe murdered by the Nazi regime and comprises of 2,711 stone slabs. Gold is trading at $5,170.98 an ounce. The rand is at 16.40 to the dollar, 21.91 to the pound, 19.07 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $81.40 a barrel.
Ekurhuleni, slow-moving traffic in Boksburg heading towards Brakpan. This is on the N17 eastbound between Rotterdam and Heidelberg Road. In Edenvale, bumper-to-bumper traffic heading towards Germiston on the N3 southbound between Morafontein Road and the Gilulis interchange. And in Hermanstad, traffic sluggish on Eskiam Pachle between Van der Hof and the R80.
It's a cloudy afternoon in Gauteng with scattered showers. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 24 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, former ANC MP Vincent Smith has been sentenced to 7 years in prison for corruption.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
They say the early bird catches the worm. Great advice, unless you're the worm. Generic so-called wisdom doesn't work for everyone, so I settle for a financial plan that's one size fits some. Momentum accredited financial advisors take the time to get to really know your unique situation. Advice meets your context. Momentum, your journey to success. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja.
Live, streaming countrywide
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Eight minutes after 2 o'clock, it's the second and final hour of 7:02 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. And if you have any topics you'd like us to visit in our Belief Matters feature, 7:02 afternoons at 702.co.za. Wendy Noula is in the building in Cape Town, and we're going to take your calls on 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702.
Nola knows.
Nola knows time with Wendy Nola. Get your questions in the queue early, 011 883 0702, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Wendy, happy Thursday.
And to you, Relebogile, good to be with you again.
We are both in studio, but not together.
Oh,
it happens. It happens. All right, let's jump into the very first one.
Okay, so did you know, Relebogile and our listeners, that while the price of petrol is regulated by government, and it's not the same price all around the country, we'll get to that, but the prices are regulated, the price of diesel is not, meaning that to a point it does pay to shop around. I don't know if you knew that, but
no, I didn't.
A lot of people don't. And do you know why fuel is more expensive in Gauteng than it is at the coast? And then last week, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana announced in his budget speech that the general fuel levy is going to go up by 9 cents a litre for petrol, 8 cents for diesel. The carbon fuel levy will go up by 5 cents per litre for petrol, 6 for diesel. And the road accident fund levy will increase by 7 cents a litre. That's a lot of cents for a lot of levies coming out of what we're paying per litre for our fuel. Why is that? And did you know that 2 years ago, the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy revealed that it had identified 70 service stations out of 1,000, which they took random fuel samples from nationwide, that had adulterated their diesel or were selling adulterated diesel. It had been mixed with illuminating paraffin, which is cheaper than diesel, but not so liquor for your car.
I mean,
so
honestly,
exactly. It's a thing. So I looked into this. Northwest, 29 of those 70 were in the Northwest. Don't know why that particular. 19 in Limpopo, 7 in Mpumalanga, 5 in KZN, 4 in Gauteng, 4 in the Western Cape, and 1 in the Free State. Bearing in mind this was 2 years ago, so that sort of contaminated diesel pattern could have changed completely by now. So also, how can you tell if you drive a diesel and you've filled up with diesel that's been contaminated with paraffin? How can you tell what does your car do? So all those things we're going to discuss with someone that listeners may remember was with us a few weeks ago in relation to the global NCAP crash test on the, which car was it? The Toyota Corolla, the Cherry 7 Pro. And that is Bobby Ramagwede, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Automobile Association, better known as simply the AA. Welcome, Bobby. Thanks for being with us again.
Thank you very much, ladies.
Welcome back. You're becoming a regular.
Yes.
You asked me to come back. So
I'm so glad you said yes.
We do like it when these sorts of bodies make themselves available for media chats, because it really is a help for our listeners ultimately. So let's start with the contaminated diesel story. I know the case of a man. He's in his 70s. His 4x4 suffered engine damage after filling up with diesel at a service station in Waltervreden Park in 2024. The fuel station refused to take responsibility, and he ended up, after a long, fruitless fight, paying 80,000 Rand for repairs. And he wanted that money back. So he took up his case with the Motor Industry Ombudsman. Everyone said not our jurisdiction or didn't help. Motor Industry Ombuds, the chief, the Consumer Ombud, the Fuel Retailers Association, the National Consumer Commission, POGA, hundreds and hundreds of emails, Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, the Petroleum, Legal Compliance and Enforcement, all of them didn't help him. And so he feels this terrible sense of injustice, and you can't blame him. What he needs is an attorney to fight his case, but he can't afford one, and there rests his stories. So, Bobby, put you in the hot seat. How do you, if you can, how would you suggest someone avoids getting contaminated diesel in their tank? And what should they do if that has happened to them and they're pretty sure, given where they last filled up, where it came from? I mean, I see the AA isn't one of the organizations which this man came to. I know. But so what help, it's easy for you to say now, but I mean, what help would you have been able to give, if any?
Yeah, so a service we render to our AA members is if they're in any way confused about how to handle a mobility issue, and this sits squarely in the mobility realm, call us. That's part of our job. We would hold your hand through the process, throw every bit of might that we have at the process, and ensure that we end up with an equitable solution for you.
Okay, you said the key word there, members. So if you aren't a member, sorry for you.
Well, not sorry for you, but you can quickly become a member.
Okay. I don't even know the answer to this question. What are your rates? Not that this isn't a punt for joining the AA, but I'm just interested in it, and I'm sure listeners.
Entry-level membership is 149 Rand a month.
Okay.
So it's really that simple. But coming back to your question about what to do when you suspect it, or rather how to avoid it.
Yes, in the first place.
The easiest is to ensure that you use big name brand petroleum companies, ideally in metro areas.
I have to say, in this case of the old man, he did. It was a major brand.
Oh, there. Well,
Yeah,
I would have enjoyed taking this one
Yeah,
on with him.
yeah. Pity. Okay. So stick to the major brands, not the sort of no-name brands in outlying places or they're not. Actually, they're all over.
Most of the major brands are available all over.
Yeah. Okay. And maybe we should talk about, because I actually looked this up and I know it from taking up these cases. How you know it's happened to you is that your car will tell you pretty quickly. There won't be much guesswork. There'll be a sudden loss of power. The car will idle roughly. I have personal experience of this, so I really know what this feels like. It's horrible, or keep stalling. You'll have difficulty starting it, and the engine will do a bit of misfiring. So although one or all of those things, your car will generally be very unhappy. So if that happens to someone and they go to the garage service station and they shrug their shoulders and say, well, we haven't had any other reports and can you prove it, and da-da-da. I mean, my sort of semi-forensic brain would say that, obviously have a sample, your own sample, and then they would be required to provide theirs. I mean, how are these cases handled? How would one ultimately get justice? What sort of evidence would you need?
So the sample is exactly that. We'll draw a sample from your fuel tank or from the engine itself. Similarly, we'd draw samples from all of the tanks at the service station and compare the two fuels. You, as a consumer, need to remember exactly where you filled up, and ideally the past 2 petrol stations you've visited, because it is possible that you would have topped up your fuel somewhere.
True.
And the blended effect results in.
And then the slips, I always keep the slips. A lot of people don't, but
Yeah.
it's a very good idea to do that. In cases I've taken up, it certainly helps.
It does.
Tells you which pump, how much you filled, etc., etc.
It's evidence that you shopped there.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the price of diesel not being regulated. What does that mean for the drivers of diesel cars?
That means, and let's use inland prices.
Okay.
And I know you want to touch on the difference between inland and coastal prices,
Yes.
but let's use inland prices.
Sure.
You could easily see a price variance as far out as 18 Rand versus 22 Rand for a litre of diesel.
Okay.
That's pretty significant.
It's very significant. But I'm sitting here thinking, if you can cut your competitors' price of diesel down, wouldn't that kind of invite or wouldn't the spectre of contaminated diesel then enter the picture?
It's twofold, really. How petrol stations make their money is a little bit of money from the fuel sold, but the vast majority comes from the convenience store. So they use the price of fuel as a draw card to get the person to...
Okay, because most of us will go in and get something.
Precisely.
Yeah,
so in addition to the fuel,
Okay.
you're walking out with a pack of chips or something.
Yeah. I just remember driving a diesel vehicle years ago when I was living in KZN, driving from Durban to the Drakensberg. And I became aware that at the major branded ones on the side of the road, those huge fuel stops, the price of diesel here was far higher than taking the off-ramp and going into the village where the locals buy their diesel, and it was much cheaper.
Right.
Because there's no, and that actually, that was such a great tip, because then I started to do that regularly.
It's a classic case of supply and demand.
Yeah. Okay. What else did we want to talk about? I know that you have some thoughts on the announcement last week of all those fuel levy increases. For listeners' benefit, Bobby just rolled his eyes. So we've got general fuel levy. I won't go into the prices again. General fuel levy, carbon fuel levy, road accident fund levy. Where does all that money go? And are the increases justifiable in the AA's opinion?
The short answer to the justification of the increases. Now, it was argued that these are inflationary adjustments, not increases to match inflation, but somewhat related to inflation, which in and of itself is pretty opaque. I suppose the biggest concern for us is when you start increasing general levies and have no transparency around what those levies are used for, it leaves the consumer wondering, what am I really being taxed for? The RAF levy going up is a little contradictory to the stats that have been published about the number of deaths and incidences on the road having reduced.
I looked it up actually. In 2025, it was reported that there were fewer deaths, still a horrific number, 11,418. People died on our roads in 2025 last year. But it's the lowest figure in 5 years.
So why the increase?
And have you asked the question and got any answers?
We've asked the question, but we've drawn the conclusion that what's happening is that money is being thrown at the inefficiency problem at
I
the
thought
RAF.
so too. Because it's a very controversial fund.
Oh, yes. We've got some hot takes that we can't share on air.
All right. So, I mean, we haven't got any choice. It's just, it is what it is. But we rely on organizations like yours to push back and ask the questions on our behalf.
Correct. It's precisely why. So we'll continue to interrogate the structure and the justifications for increasing these levies.
Okay. And what's I don't know if you're in a position to answer this, but what is the latest on the electric vehicle, the EV taxes and EV production in this country? Because I know we're a country mile behind other, countries globally. Here, is there any good news on that front?
We're still sitting in limbo, right? The state still needs to figure out what they want to do with regards to new energy vehicles, what role they want to play, and this is more around the production facilities that are envisaged for South Africa. Unfortunately for the consumer, we're not too sure what direction is going to be taken, nor the pace at which we're going to have resolve.
Okay, so that's where we are. And the sales of EVs, pure EVs in this country are kind of a bit stagnant as well, with the hybrids really capturing people's imaginations and bank balances. The last time I looked at the statistics, the big story is new energy vehicles rather than just electric vehicles, pure electric vehicles.
Correct. Look, we don't see ICE vehicles going anywhere very quickly in South Africa. The reality of it is
our terrain, our everything. Yeah.
Everything from terrain to dependence on Eskom for charging vehicles and Eskom's rates
cost.
going up. The evidence just stacks up against it for the time being.
I still think the big mistake was to bring in these big luxury, high-end German brand ones as a starting point, whereas, rather the cheap little runaround, the mom to take the kids to school and whatever, without all the bells and whistles and just this great battery. I think that would have changed the way this rolled out in South Africa, I think.
Definitely.
Because you've got, and it's starting to change, but I mean in Europe they've got a lot of cheaper entry-level type cars that are electric, and that was the way to go. It doesn't have to come with premium everything else. You need the battery power, but you don't need some of the other stuff that's making these cars so premium.
Indeed, but there's also an opportunity for the consumer to look at what's going on in Europe. So the EU's kind of doubled back on some of the promises with regards to taxes and subsidies on EVs there. So you've had a wave grow and start to shrink before we've even jumped into it. So the real question we often ask ourselves is, are we not chasing after something that's sort of dying a slow death?
True. So it'd be interesting to have this conversation in, say, 2 years from now and see where we are. We've got a little bit more time before we've got an ad break, Relebogile, that we need to accommodate.
We do not, but I think that there's some interesting things. There's a WhatsApp message here from anonymous fuel retailer who says, Relebogile and Wendy, you cannot prove contamination in your car by only looking at the last place you filled up. You need to request a fuel sample from the same pump you last filled up and take that for testing.
Which is what we said.
Yes.
In fact,
so
we added an additional one. We said the last 2 places you filled up.
Yes.
In case there's a mix.
Yes.
Yeah.
But now here's my question. I mean, this sounds like an administrative nightmare, but also if the fuel station has an incentive to not get themselves caught out, why would they give you an accurate sample? because time can pass and then they can say, well, we refilled.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of that happens. That's why for me, it's people travel around. It's not always convenient, but I would say, as a consumer, is find your regular place, build a relationship with the manager, be one of those people. They know you, you know them, and if something does happen to go wrong, because they might unwittingly buy a batch that's been contaminated, I think it can happen. I don't think anyone's entirely immune. At least you have a relationship and you have more chance of getting a fair outcome than, you're filling up all over the place. And I don't know, that's just as a consumer journalist, that sort of comes to mind as something that you could do to mitigate your chances of it happening. But as the old guy's case proves, I mean, it can be just a totally unjust situation for a consumer to find themselves in terms of if the service station just goes for the deny route. As I say, the best thing would be, if you couldn't get any help from anywhere else, is to get a lawyer. But now that cost could eclipse what you're going to have to pay out of your own pocket for the engine repair. It's just an awful situation. So I think, as always, my thing would be to try and avoid it in the first place. And sticking to the big brands, have a relationship with one, maybe two places where you deliberately choose to fill up, all of the time, unless you're on a road trip or something and you can't. But I mean, is that something that you would?
That's fair advice. That's fair advice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I imagine a lot of fuel retailers listening with. Feeling very annoyed. But I mean,
can I ask a question on that, Wendy?
Yes.
So
Sure.
let's say you suspect that where you're filling up regularly has a problem. What do you go up and say when you're asking for a sample? Like, as consumers, do we have the right to say, hi, can I just have, 1 rand of petrol in this bottle?
Absolutely, and thank you for asking that question, because something that I recommend and that I haven't actually said yet is that when your car is hussing and pooping and misfiring and all the rest, get video evidence. Get someone to sit in the car with you and capture that, because now you have evidence, and do it as soon as possible, as soon after the. I mean, the good thing, I think, is that the car will respond almost immediately, depending on how much you filled, right? So if your tank was 3/4 full and you just topped up because you're going on a trip or whatever, obviously you've still got 75% good fuel, and now the contamination's only 25%, so your symptoms aren't going to be as severe. Whereas if you're one of those people like me who tends to let it run low, and then you've got 75% plus contamination in your tank, then you would have very dramatic symptoms very quickly. And so get the evidence. Every topic we talk about, Relebogile, almost, I'm about get the evidence. Let your brain go to evidence collecting immediately. And as I always say, we have these very expensive tiny computers in our hands, all of us, which can video, which can record sound, which can capture images and all the rest. So it's not like we have to go to any particular effort to do it like we would have to 20 years ago, whatever. And then with that evidence and your slip that you have kept of when and what you filled, then go to the fuel station and gauge their response. If you get a really negative response, then you can go somewhere like the AA, come to somebody like me, and take it from there. But I think the evidence, the timing, the receipt, all of that helps to give you a strong case.
All right, we are going to be preparing to go to the news. I was wondering if you have a quick answer for me, Wendy, on are there any cases that have gone to higher courts around this?
I'm not aware, but I can quickly look that up during our news break for sure. I'm looking at Bobby. Are you aware?
None that we're aware of either.
No.
Okay. All right. When we come back, we continue. I see more of your questions coming in around filling stations and testing. 011 883 0702. The WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. It's 2:30 time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. Let's begin with some news just in. The African Transformation Movement's John Sinona has been elected as the new Speaker of the Ekurhuleni Council. Sinona beat the EFF's Nkululeko Dunga for the position during a vote this afternoon. The Speaker's position became vacant in Ekurhuleni last week following the resignation of Dora Mlambo. Mlambo was appointed the MMC for Economic Infrastructure Development. Former ANC MP Vincent Smith has been sentenced to 7 years in prison for corruption. The Johannesburg High Court sentenced Smith after reaching a plea agreement with the state. Smith pleaded guilty to charges that include fraud, money laundering and the contravention of the Tax Act. The conviction relates to the corruption and fraud charges in his personal capacity as well as in his capacity as the sole director of Euroblitz 48. And the National Consumer Commission has announced the recall of more than 25,000 VW Polo Vivo vehicles following a defective handbrake. It's suspected the handbrake may not engage or could disengage unexpectedly, posing a safety risk when a car is parked on an incline. This is the third recall for the German manufacturer between 2025 and 2026. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage in Lombardy Estate, Pretoria, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is due to roadworks on Linwood Graham Road between Boschkop Road and Solomon Mahlangu, while in Boksburg, slow-moving traffic on the N17 eastbound. This is between Roundabout and Heidelberg Road due to ongoing roadworks. Also slow-moving traffic in the Four Ways area. This is on Winnie Mandela Drive between the N1 and Broad Acres Drive. Sharon Lee expects some delays on Malibongwe Drive. This is between Belez and the N1. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
What I believe is a bigger part of the war that is taking place at the moment. I am intrigued by the propaganda war. I've been watching how there seems to be a pattern. Certain demographics of people will sympathize with one side. Broadly speaking, you'll see that most Westerners, perhaps even white folk, will be more sympathetic to America and Israel. And most black folk and people who were once colonized will be more sympathetic to the Iranian cause.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
To live wealthier, you need to be able to grow your assets. At Standard Bank Private, you get a team of internationally acclaimed financial experts to advise you on local and global investment strategies. Plus, being with a leader in home loans, you can start expanding your property portfolio. So, come live wealthier with Africa's best private bank. Apply online at standardbank.co.za. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Do you believe every child deserves a chance at a brighter future? Gift a Child Children's Home does too, and they need your help. Your support can make a huge difference in the lives of these kids. Whether it's a small donation or some of your time, every bit counts. WhatsApp 065-884-6699 and find out how you can lend a hand. Gift a Child Children's Home, because every child deserves love and hope.
When getting that bread, rising and grinding, 9 to 5 in, even after 5, hustling, side hustling, clocking in, knocking in, going all out, crossing T's, dotting I's, hitting KPIs, meeting ROIs, meeting deadlines, all before EOD because everything is needed ASAP. There's a lot on the go. Stick with it with the Nando's Cabo Society and single chips for 79 Rand. You've got this, and we've got you. Nando's. Oh, what a place.
702.
Nola knows.
26 minutes to 3 o'clock. We continue with our consumer rights feature, Nola Knows. And yes, John Perlman will be coming through hosting 702 Drive from 3 to 6 p.m. Make sure you tune in for his show. 011-883-0702, the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. Just to come back to the filling stations, and I see you, Katlego, Kensani, and Nandi. There's a message. Zeno says, Relebogile, Wendy and guest, interesting topic. However, to imply that major filling station brands are the only ones to go to doesn't really mean that it's the solution, but rather the safe option. Otherwise, that statement alone can sabotage legit sole traders that are not into partnership with a major brand through franchise. Just last week, one well-known liquor brand, no names to be mentioned, was founded to be selling fake alcohol to the value of 400,000 Rand after it was raided. That is from Zeno.
Point taken. Zeno, I totally agree. I did qualify that by saying, have a relationship with your fuel supplier. And of course, it's never, we have to talk in generalities at times, but it's not to say, when we do a show about a dodgy plumber, doesn't mean that the entire industry is the same. And it doesn't mean, often we do shows that involve, say travel and ASATA, the Association for Travel Agents, wants everyone to be members, but it doesn't necessarily mean that someone, for whatever reason, doesn't choose to join and that they're not going to offer you a decent service. So yes, I certainly don't want to imply that the smaller independent ones, who are independent for whatever reason, are by definition likely to be giving you, fuel that has been contaminated. At all. And as I also said, the case that I mentioned of the old man, he was not at one of the independents. He was with a major fuel brand. So just thank you for giving me the opportunity to clarify that.
And then the other one, Relebogile, where do we take the samples for testing? Can you give us an estimate of how much that would cost? And I think that is quite a relevant question that is coming through there. In terms of if you are going to go through all of this, then make sure you do that. And just to remind everybody, we're still with Bobby from the AA, who is joining us to chat along with all of these conversations around the fuel and the testing and what has come out with regards to levies and things like that.
Bobby, do you know what those tests cost?
Not too sure on the cost, but we can certainly facilitate the process of having the fuel tested. So
that's good to know.
In instances where we have cases that run through us, we'll facilitate that and have them sent to the appropriate labs.
I've covered a few cases. I'm sorry I don't have them in front of me now of what the costs were. They weren't prohibitive. I would say that. It wouldn't sort of stop you, make you think, oh, I'm not going to go through with this because of the cost of the test at all. I didn't know, actually, before we started researching this piece, that the AA would play such a role. So that's good to know.
That and a few other topics, eh?
Yeah. Any other questions, Relebogile, from our listeners?
All right. I'm just quickly checking the questions that are related to
I'm sure there are a lot of
fuel.
Unrelated ones.
Yes. So I think it is safe for us to release you, Bobby, if you have any final thoughts before we close off this part of the conversation.
Look, this is an interesting topic, and it's not one that happens every day, but I think to assure the consumer out there, the AA is available to them. If you find yourself in the unfortunate situation where you suspect that your car does have adulterated fuel and you're not too sure what to do, we are honestly a phone call away.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bobby, for your time. 011 8830702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. We kick off with Kensani in Kempton Park. Kensani, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Relebogile.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm Kensani. I'm calling from Kempton Park. Hi, Wendy.
Hello, Kensani.
The problem that I have is that my dad was involved in a car accident, like a bumper basher type of accident, nothing serious. But he doesn't have insurance, but the car that he bumped into, the lady had car insurance. So the car got fixed and everything. But now, to our surprise, that 2 days ago, the insurance now sent a sheriff to come attach something saying that my dad is liable to pay 75,000 rands for the car that he bumped 2 years ago. So my issue is the lady that has insurance, obviously she's paying her insurance every month. Now, does it mean that the insurance company now wants to benefit like twice, because now they are saying that my dad is liable to pay the 75,000 rand?
Okay, first of all, Katani, who paid for the repair of your dad's car?
He paid for it himself, so
Okay.
he just took it to a mechanic.
All right. And you said he bumped into her. Was the accident his fault?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So then that's this is one of the reasons why we need at least third-party insurance. If you can't afford to insure your car comprehensively, you need third-party insurance so that in his case, that other drivers can't come after you for that 75 Rand or whatever the case may be. You go to your insurer and they will protect you from that legal claim and settle that on your behalf. So it's much cheaper than having full comprehensive. It's not going to pay to fix your car. That your insurance. So unfortunately, that's terrible, and I don't know why it's taken 2 years. But if he was at fault and he doesn't have third-party insurance, then technically they can come after him. If he's not got the means or whatever, there could be some kind of negotiation. But ideally, he needs his own lawyer, and now that comes at a cost. So it's just an awful situation, and it's a cautionary tale to the rest of our listeners. If you're driving and you don't, I'm saying this for the third time because it's important. If you can't afford the full comprehensive insurance, please at least get yourself third-party insurance so that if you cause an accident and you damage someone else's car, they can't come after you. Your insurer will then sort that out. So I'm so sorry. I don't have better news for you, Kinsani.
So sorry, Kinsani, and wishing you and your dad all of the best there. Katlego, you had some issue with an event being cancelled and refunds. What happened?
Hi, Relebogile, and hi, Wendy. Thank you so much for taking my call. So I was meant to attend an event on the 27th of September last year, and then 2 weeks before the event, the person that was creating the event as an events company said that it's regrettable they've cancelled the event because of numbers and people pulling out, and they asking for some time. They would have refunded everyone that had paid fully their money by the end of November 2025. And then when November 2025 came, I messaged them, and then they said that they replied me in January saying that they are aware that the refunds have not been completed. They have some challenges, but they will be fast tracking that and completing it as soon as possible. And till today, the refund has never been done. Some people have blasted them on social media and TikTok, and they've gotten their money back, but when I checked their socials just earlier on today, they have deleted their social media account, and they're just nowhere to be found. But I have emails from them saying that they will refund the money.
Well, that is unfortunate. It's quite a common scenario, I have to say. It's nice talk and reconciliatory talk at the time, and then when it comes down to it, they don't follow through because, it became not financially viable for them to do it because they didn't sell the number of tickets that they thought they would, but they would have had costs in setup and in paying various service providers as well. So this was a financial disaster for them, but it's not your fault. You paid a ticket for a ticket or two in good faith, and you didn't get anything for your money. So they do obviously owe you a full refund. All I can suggest is, and there's no real, you can't predict when that's going to happen, except unless they have a track record of doing this, then you should have done your homework and figured out that wasn't a good risk for you. But otherwise, it's nothing that you could predict and sort of protect yourself against. Because by the time, when did you pay for your ticket?
It must have been in July in 2025.
And the event was supposed to happen in September. So one possible thing is it's too late now. But in such cases, if you paid with a credit card, then the bank via MasterCard or Visa has chargeback things where you can lodge a chargeback dispute, basically saying I didn't get what I paid for, and you can provide proof, and then basically what you paid for your ticket, and the email saying sorry we're cancelling, and then your bank goes to their bank and gets the money back for you. And I've had personal experience of this; it does work, but each bank has a different cut-off point. Some is 3 months, some is 6 months, and unfortunately in these sort of cases, by the time you realize you're not getting your money, that chargeback window has closed, and you don't have that. The other thing I can suggest, is that you email me and give me the details of that service provider, And if I can get hold of them, I will, and at least get them on the record as saying, well, if they can choose not to answer. But what percentage of these tickets have you refunded, and what is your plan for the remainder?
Yes.
That's all I can suggest.
Wendy.
All the best.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have an issue here with trust and events in South Africa. There have been so many of those cases. We go to Nandi in Midrand. You've got an issue with a storage place. Go ahead, Nandi.
Hi, Wendy. Hi, I've got an issue with the storage facility. On the 30th of April last year, I approached a storage facility and I stored my clothing, all my clothing, and the furniture for the house. And fast forward, I was paying 2,160. Because of my work, I would be in and out of Joburg, and I would fall into areas. They would inform me, and at some stage, I went and swiped my card. It was settled. Came 2 months later again. I was in arrears, but then now I paid again, and I actually asked them to cancel the storage because I gave them a month's notice. And they said, if it happens that you do not take out your goods, you need to inform us in time so that the amount that you are paying doesn't attract interest. I did that, seeing that I actually was not going to cancel. I did that, and days later, they came back and said, the email that you sent your notice from to cancel is not the correct one. Right? And I said, okay, now that's fine. If it's not the correct one, then it means the one that I'm communicating with you is the right one. And they said there was a hyphen there. Okay, fast forward to that, they had this email and they kept it was a back and forth as to, please update your email. And I said, but you can use this one. You already have this one. Please take, I worded the letter as in, take the one that you are communicating with as the correct email. They refused and they said, no, you need to fill out the form. Fine. I did that and sent it, right? In October, they informed me again that I was once again in arrears. I said, no, I would come and pay. A month later, I did not pay. But then I paid in December. There was no acknowledgement that was done of the payment, right? It was not done. And we went on a holiday, came back on the 22nd of this month, which is about a month or two ago. I actually tried to communicate. It's one of those facilities where you can WhatsApp them and they would communicate with you. And I contacted them via WhatsApp. I don't know if the system no, I don't think it's automated, but I think it was, I was speaking to the real person. And they asked me for a registration number because I wanted to settle. I think I was owing something about 9,000 rand. I wanted to settle, and they asked for a storage number. And this must have been around in the afternoon, about 2-3 o'clock. And then I kept quiet and I waited. Later, around 5-2, they came back to me that the whole unit has been auctioned. For an amount of about 9,000 rand. My goods are worth something like to the tune of about 4 or 5 million. And I'm being very...
my heart.
And the argument is, is this. They sent the email to the incorrect email address. And
your incorrect email address.
They say it was an incorrect address, but the email address that was there, their form is done in such a way that you would have a hyphen. But besides that, I had said that on that email that this email, please take the email that we are using, me and you, we are communicating on the correct email. Please take it and recognize it as a correct email. But they said no. But then I said, okay, fine. I did fill out that form and I sent it, but they never updated that email, only to be told that my goods have been auctioned. on the day I inquired. Come the following day, on the 23rd of February, when I said I was on the gate, I was refused entry. But the way I was so upset, I said, I'm going to park my car. I am going to be allowed in here. And I went in, and they literally said I was in breach. I was in areas, and the email was not correct. And I said they basically auctioned my goods worth over. And I'm being generous to them.
Okay, Nandi. First of all, the terms and conditions would have certain procedures in place for if you were in arrears. But that aside, to take the step of auctioning somebody's property would require very specific notification before that happened. I mean, that's just obvious. So are they contending that they warned you about this, they notified you, so they gave you like 15 days and then said after this we're going to auction? Are they saying they sent you that and you didn't get it? Or what is the story there? You can't just auction people's things without notification. Nandi?
Oh, we just lost Nandi. Pashida's trying desperately to get her back so we can hear what happened in that situation.
It's a story I would very much like to investigate, and I think a lot of people have a lot of things in storage, and I think that's not a topic I've ever investigated in depth, and I think this story is a good one to prompt me to do that. What to look for when you what's contribute up in the contract, etc. So that'll do, and I hope that we will have Nandi's number. I'll get hold of her after the show at some point, and we'll take it from there. But
perfect.
What a horrifying story.
All right, we've got Bongi from Centurion. You've got a funeral policy issue. Please go ahead, Bongi.
Thank you for taking my call.
Oh, please just speak into the phone, Bongi. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
Thank you, ma'am. And hi to Wendy as well. On the 20th, I was in Joburg, and what happened is I was approached by this lady from an insurance company. You know, she sounded so genuine. She says to me, the brand ambassador of this insurance company has said to them they need to give elderly people vouchers for 500 rand. But you have to make sure, they have to make sure that you are a South African citizen by handing over your ID book. I showed them my ID book because she had a T-shirt. I showed them my ID book. After showing them my ID book, and then they said, I'm going to get a voucher for 500 rand. And you know, they target the elderly. I don't know why. Yeah. I showed them the ID book, after which now I was thinking I've got 350 rand. Now I'm going to be getting a voucher for 500 rand. Wow. That's what
voucher for where?
They mentioned the shops.
Okay.
The grocery shops.
Oh, like a hypermarket or whatever, supermarket.
Yeah, the grocery shops. After which they said I need to show, I don't know what happened there. They said I need to show them my bank card.
No.
To make sure I showed it to them. I don't know what was happening there. Oh, I was excited because of the 500 rand voucher.
That's what they're aiming for.
When was this? On Saturday, I got 1,000 rands in my account. Believe you me, 410 rands was gone. When I go to the bank that I bank with, they say, oh, you're not the only one. They target most of all the old people.
Sure.
So you just showed them your bank account number and you just showed them your ID. Did they take photos? What did they do?
They didn't take photos, ma'am. I think they wrote the details down.
But they still need your verification to get into your account. So you must have done something else.
There's nothing, because I don't even have a smartphone. It was just the account number. I mean, the bank card that I showed them, and I also showed them my ID book.
So
then
was it a debit order that? Sorry to keep interrupting you. Was it that 410 rand? I think you said. Was that?
Yes, that was it.
A debit order, or
yes,
was it
ma'am.
just? Oh, okay. So they took your ID and details, and they took your bank account, but they should have, in order to Was it a debit order for a funeral policy or what? You said this was a funeral policy question.
It was for a funeral policy, ma'am.
Oh, and okay. So a well-known company?
Very, 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 very well known. I'm so upset.
Okay. So that gives me hope that I can actually help you. All right. So Bongi, I need you
what
to.
Surprised me? You know what surprised me? I'm sorry to cut you short, Wendy. You know what surprised me? They tell me that money is not even reversible. It was for the first time to hear that there's a transaction that cannot be reversed.
No. We'll have a look at that. I've had a case like this very recently. So if it's the same company, I will definitely be able to get your money back. But what I need from you, Bongi, this is a financial matter. So send me an email outlining what you've just shared here. Give me your permission to take up your case with the company, because we don't want them saying, for poppy reasons, we can't divulge somebody else's financial details. And everything you can remember in as much detail as you can remember, and then just write down on the email what the debit order reference was for that 410 that went off, obviously for a funeral policy. Another thing is, you can't just, where's your policy document? How would your loved ones know what this funeral policy was about if you had to pass away? I mean, it all sounds very, very dodgy. They do have sales agents, and they'll probably say this was a rogue agent who, didn't operate according to our procedures, but whatever. I will make it my mission to get you your money back if there's any chance that I can, Bongi. So just get my email address from Pashida and send me that email as soon as possible, and I'll get onto it.
Stay on the line, Bongi. Let's see if we can squeeze in a quick one. Rob from Benoni. Your father was hit by a courier company. What happened?
Hi, everybody. Yes, my dad was basically leaving the house, not even half a kilometer from the house. He's traveling straight down the road. A very famous courier company basically reverses out of a driveway, hits him. The guy jumps out like, it's not a big smash, all the rest of it, gets in his car and he leaves. So the lady that he was doing the delivery for came out. She said, I saw all that. I'll be a witness. And then he got the number of the courier guy and all that stuff from her. So then we followed up with that.
Oh, excellent. Yes.
Went after the whole thing. They transferred us to their lawyers. And then the lawyers came with that we must give them a whole list of stuff, vehicle registration, case number, license, all these different things. We said, hello, this is the hit and run on your behalf, not on ours. And they've just basically been running around for the last few months, and all they do is like, we'll get back to you, we'll get back to you, we'll get back to you. And then, when they're supposed to answer, they pedal it back and say, oh, no, we're waiting for that document that we said we gave this to you like 2 months ago. What's wrong with you?
Goodness.
Okay, so does your dad have his own insurance policy on that car?
No, he didn't. Then he basically paid to fix it himself, and then we gave them the actual invoice for the actual repairs.
Okay, so this is
the
other...
This
is the other side of the third party thing that we were talking about earlier with the other case. But even when they do handle the claim, they come with this blame apportionment thing, which there's legal precedent for. And so they will say it's either 60-40 or 80-20, whatever the case may be, 70-30.
Not even. They just keep you on a treadmill and just keep you going in circles.
So
I'll be happy to help if you want to email me as well. Yeah, that's what you're going to say.
Yeah, we've run out of time. So, Rob, I hope we are able to get all that feedback on that story. Stay on the line for Pashida to take your details. Wendy Nola, we leave it there till next week.
Morning, sir. Hey, got up the shop. Topping up.
Yeah. Hey, remember when our coffee didn't taste this good?
And when the Wi-Fi dropped 3 times a day?
Yo, my man.
Good times.
Now we've leveled up. High-speed Wi-Fi, private spaces, on-site support. This place runs like a machine.
Yo, flippin' seamless.
Yeah, that's WeWork, eh?
And my team's like loving it, eh? Productivity's up. No one's fighting over the fridge.
Yeah, I know. It's the dream.
WeWork, Africa's largest co-working spaces. WeWork.co.za. Made for work, built for business.
Need a seat? Try 7 or 5. It's your call. Want a sunroof? Make it a panoramic.
Gotta have power? How does award-winning 138 kilowatts sound? The Changan CS75 Pro is big enough for the kids, smart enough for your playlist, and stylish enough for your Friday night too. Why settle when you can have it all without compromise? The Changan CS75 Pro. Drive tomorrow's SUV today. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more.
Changan, driven to evolve.
It's your last chance to save with the Checkers Extravaganza. Save extra on deals like Clover Butro Full Cream Modified Butter Spread, 500 grams for $79.99. Nestle Mini Chocolate Fun Bags, any two for 89 Rand, save 45 Rand. And Baby Soft 2-ply White or Supreme Quilts Toilet Rolls, 18 per pack for $129.99. Valid until 8 March, only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
Thank you so much for joining us on 702 Afternoons. Back tomorrow. It's 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
John Sinona elected as the new Ekurhuleni Speaker, and former ANC MP Vincent Smith to spend 7 years behind bars. Ali Dlamini. We begin with news just in. The African Transformation Movement's John Sinona has been elected as the new Speaker of the Ekurhuleni Council. Sinona